She slammed the book shut, her hands trembling. "Why are you still trying?" her mother demanded, voice sharp, eyes burning with impatience. "You'll never finish. Just quit." But deep inside, she felt a fire that refused to die. In the dim light of her small bedroom, surrounded by scattered notes and textbooks, she whispered to herself, "I won't let anyone decide my limits." The argument had erupted like lightning in the middle of the afternoon. Sunlight spilled across the cracked tiles of the small living room, illuminating the tension that had been simmering for months. Her mother's voice, tense and unyielding, cut through the air. "You don't understand. You're wasting your time. Stop pretending you can do this." Her father's hands gripped the edge of the worn sofa, knuckles white, as if bracing against her stubbornness. But she stood firm, eyes locked on the floor as though she could gather courage from the worn rug beneath her feet. She was 15, but her mind carried the weight of generations' expectations. Everyone around her assumed the path she was being forced onto. Dropping out, taking a job, settling, was inevitable. But inside, a quiet rebellion burned. One that had nothing to do with defiance and everything to do with belief. The belief that she could change her life, if given the chance. Her bedroom became her secret battlefield. After the house went silent at night, she would light the tiny lamp on her desk, its soft glow spilling across piles of notebooks, torn pages, and textbooks she had borrowed from the library. The smell of ink and old paper became familiar, comforting even, a scent that reminded her of possibility rather than limitation. Each night she studied in silence, listening to the soft hum of the city outside, as though the world itself held its breath, waiting to see what she would do. Her story began long before this moment of defiance. She had grown up in a household that loved her, but understood her dreams only as distant fantasies. Her father, once a promising student, had left school early to support the family after her grandfather fell ill. Her mother, resilient and proud, saw education as a luxury, a burden that distracted from survival. The girl had seen this pattern. Good intentions leading to early compromise. She did not want to repeat it. She did not want to stop dreaming, even if the world around her insisted she should. Her mornings were battles of routine. She would rise before the sun, slipping past her parents' bedroom without making a sound, and make her way to the kitchen for a quick breakfast. The smell of frying bread and spices clung to the air, familiar and unyielding, a reminder of the life she was expected to embrace. But she ignored it, choosing instead to retreat to the corners of the local library during her free hours. The librarians, busy and distracted, often looked the other way, allowing her sanctuary among the rows of dusty shelves. There she pored over textbooks, highlighting passages, solving problems she sometimes didn't understand the first time, but refusing to stop until she did. Her teachers noticed. A few, at least, recognized the quiet determination that radiated from her, even in the back of the classroom, where she sat with a notebook open, pen poised, and eyes focused in a way that suggested she was learning not just for grades, but for survival. One math teacher, Mr. Hassan, once whispered as she handed in a problem set late, "Most kids your age would have given up months ago." She only smiled softly, feeling the invisible armor of patience growing stronger with each challenge. Conflict intensified when her parents decided to impose stricter rules. No late nights, no extra classes, no excursions to the library. They confiscated her notebooks, insisting that she focus on chores and practical responsibilities. But even then, she found ways. She would memorize entire chapters while doing dishes, recite formulas to herself while folding laundry, and practice writing essays in her mind during walks to the market. Every obstacle became a training ground, every restriction a test of her ingenuity. At school, the world seemed to test her too. Peers whispered, teachers doubted, and authority figures frequently questioned her capacity. It was subtle, almost imperceptible at first. A glance of skepticism, a remark about wasted effort. A note reminding her that some dreams were for others, not for someone like her. Yet she persisted, internalizing the words of encouragement she offered herself in private. Determination beats obstacles. Quiet effort is stronger than loud surrender. Her secret study sessions slowly began to bear fruit. Test scores climbed, though she had no one to celebrate with openly. Essays once marked with red ink for minor errors now earned praise for insight and originality. The girl who had been dismissed as naive and foolish had transformed her bedroom into a crucible of intellect. Her persistence forging resilience sharper than any criticism hurled her way. Then came the day that would test her resolve more than ever. The principal called her parents in for a meeting, suggesting that perhaps their daughter was overreaching and should consider vocational training instead. The conversation left her parents visibly shaken, unsure, and momentarily admiring her persistence. But still, they tried to persuade her quietly. "It's too much. You can't carry it all. Give it up, please." She listened, silent, heart heavy but determined. That evening, as rain tapped against the window pane, she returned to her desk, sat in the dim light, and whispered to herself, "I will not stop. I will finish this, no matter the cost." Her resolve had become unshakable. The room seemed to embrace her silently, a small fortress against the world outside. The tension built not just at home, but in the world beyond. School competitions approached, exams loomed, and the academic environment was unforgiving. She faced moments where even a small misstep could undo weeks of secret preparation. Each mistake was a crucible, but instead of breaking her, it taught her to bend and return stronger. Her parents, meanwhile, noticed subtle changes. A quieter confidence, a sharper focus, but remained torn between concern and admiration. Then, a small victory appeared on the horizon. She was nominated for a prestigious science competition, one that required rigorous preparation and public presentation. The irony was not lost on her. The world now demanded she show herself openly, even as her family continued to doubt. She studied harder than ever, preparing not only the technical aspects, but rehearsing how to carry herself with calm confidence in front of others. Each late night, each stolen moment in the library had been for this very moment. When the day arrived, she walked into the hall carrying nothing but a notebook and quiet courage. Peers whispered, judges glanced skeptically, and her parents sat in the audience, unsure whether pride or the fear should dominate. But she remained calm, letting her preparation speak louder than any doubt. The presentation began, and slowly, the audience leaned in. The clarity of her knowledge, the thoughtfulness of her solutions, and the quiet dignity with which she spoke silenced every skeptic. A subtle power shift occurred in that moment. The judges, once impartial and doubtful, were visibly impressed. Her parents' expressions softened, admiration overtaking fear. One of her peers, who had mocked her struggles weeks before, now nodded with respect. And in that hall, the invisible walls of limitation began to crumble. The girl who had studied in secret had stepped into the light with quiet power, a force that no skepticism could diminish. Several iconic lines crystallized the moment. Strength isn't loud, it's persistent. You can't break what refuses to bend. And, whispered to herself in the quiet moments before the award was announced, I've been preparing for this my whole life, even when no one believed I could. These words echoed beyond the hall, carrying the weight of her journey, resonating with anyone who had been underestimated or dismissed. When her name was called as the winner, the applause was not just polite, it was reverent. The audience rose to their feet, some moved to tears, as the girl who had once been told to quit accepted the recognition she had earned in secret. Her parents approached afterward, their previous insistence replaced with humility and pride. They realized that their insistence on limits had almost cost her the very thing they now celebrated. The public acknowledgement was more than an award. It was a visual, cinematic payoff, a silent affirmation that determination, patience, and quiet courage can overcome systemic doubt and personal obstacles. The girl's story rippled through her community, inspiring peers, teachers, and family members alike. In the following days, she became a quiet role model. Others approached her, seeking guidance, learning that the power of persistence often flourishes in silence. She continued her studies with the same disciplined approach, aware now that her efforts had not just transformed her own future, but the expectations of those around her. Her story culminated in a reflection that she carried in her heart. The value of unseen battles, the dignity of quiet persistence, and the power of refusing to surrender to doubt. She understood that respect and honor are not given lightly. They are earned through silent, steadfast courage. Her journey reminded her that life's greatest victories are often invisible at first, discovered only by those willing to fight quietly, persistently, and with unshakable belief in themselves. She now stood at a crossroads, older and wiser, contemplating the path ahead. Every page she had read in secret, every night spent studying under a soft lamp, every whispered mantra of determination had led her to this moment of clarity. She had learned that obstacles are temporary, doubt is fleeting, and determination, quiet, steadfast, and unwavering, is eternal. Her story invites reflection. The silent warriors who persevere despite opposition, the unseen struggles that shape destinies, and the quiet victories that resonate far beyond the individual. She looked at the city outside her window, feeling the hum of life that had once felt overwhelming and restrictive. Now it felt expansive, full of possibility. She whispered softly, more to the future than anyone else. This is only the beginning. The story closes with an invitation to the audience to consider their own silent battles, to honor the perseverance, and to recognize the quiet heroes around them. Share where you're watching from, reflect on the courage it takes to persist, and subscribe to witness more stories that honor true, unsung heroes.